Hey everybody, what if everything you thought you knew about vampires was wrong? Forget the capes and the sparkly skin. Today we're diving deep into the shadows to uncover the real origins of the vampire myth, a history far more terrifying and fascinating than any fiction. So, if you are not ready to watch this, skip the video already because this story is not for the faint of heart. But if you're brave enough to embrace the horror, welcome to Mystery Stories. Every great once in a while, something comes along that redefines what it means to be a horror story. These moments shake us to our core, forcing us to confront the deepest recesses of our primal fears. From the moment Bram Stoker introduced the world to the infamous Count Dracula to Stephenie Meyer's foray into immortal romance with the Twilight Saga, vampires have held a significant place in our cultural lexicon. Yet as time marched on, these blood-sucking beings of the night evolved from literary figures into shimmering heartthrobs and then back into brooding antiheroes. But amid this metamorphosis, one crucial question echoes through the ages. What truly scares you about vampires? We think it's important to take a step back before diving into the lore because pop culture has done such a good job of shaping our ideas of what a vampire is. So let's rewind to the classics. Forget the capes and the sparkly skin. We're diving deep into the shadows to uncover the real origins of the vampire myth, a history far more terrifying and fascinating than any fiction. Before we get started, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe for more videos. Turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Let's begin. Hollywood has painted a pretty picture, but the truth about vampires is much darker and more rooted in chilling history. Join us as we rip back the curtain on centuries of folklore, distinguishing between the fictional monsters we love and the gruesome historical accounts that truly inspired them. The realm of vampires is one that has captivated and horrified mankind for centuries. From the cobwebbed halls of Transylvania to the foggy streets of Victorian England, these creatures of the night have wormed their way into our collective consciousness. But just how accurate are the depictions we've come to accept as fact? Are vampires truly the undead, risen from their graves to sat an insatiable bloodlust? Or is there a darker, more grounded reality lurking beneath these legends? Join us as we peel back the layers of fiction and delve into the murky depths of history to bring you the truth behind the vampire myth. Prepare to be surprised as we separate the bite from the bark, exposing the actual origins of these mythical beings that may be closer to home and much more terrifying than you ever imagined. So what exactly do we mean when we talk about vampires? To understand where the myth came from, we first need to define what it is we're talking about. Traditionally, vampires were believed to be the souls of the recently deceased, evil spirits that used their former bodies as vessels to wreak havoc on the living. This havoc took the form of an insatiable thirst for blood, which they allegedly obtained by draining the life essence from family members or close contacts. Sounds scary, right? Well, that's just the tip of the iceberg. In truth, the portrayal of vampires in fiction has diverged dramatically from these original accounts. In modern fiction, vampires are often depicted as alluring, charismatic beings who choose to exist outside the bounds of humanity. They're frequently portrayed as tragically romantic, cursed with immortality and doomed to a life of solitude. Edward Cullen from the Twilight series is perhaps the most famous example of this type of vampire. However, these romanticized versions are a far cry from the monstrous figures described in folklore. For instance, did you know that according to traditional beliefs, vampires weren't repelled by garlic or holy symbols? In fact, they were thought to use such items as conduits to enhance their powers. Likewise, sunlight, which in modern narratives often proves fatal to these creatures, didn't hold the same power in folklore. Instead, vampires were believed to become bloated, rise and drink from the blood of family members or close contacts. It's a grim reality check that starkly contrasts with the sparkling skin and heart-wrenching good looks of modern vampire fiction. To make matters even more perplexing, pinpointing the exact origin of these misconceptions is no easy feat. They've been passed down through generations, becoming muddied by the sands of time. However, the fundamental belief in the existence of vampires remained strong until the dawn of the 18th century. Despite their widespread acceptance, proving the existence of vampires was a nearly impossible task, and many of the supposed signs of vampirism could be attributed to other natural occurrences. For example, the belief that a body was bloated and engorged after burial was often seen as evidence of vampirism. However, this symptom could also be explained by natural post-mortem decomposition, something we now understand as a normal part of the decay process. Similarly, the belief that vampires drained the life essence from their victims could be traced back to instances of hemophilia, a condition characterized by excessive bleeding. This led to a widespread but inaccurate belief that vampires caused the disease, further fueling the vampire hysteria. But these examples merely scratch the surface of a much deeper, more complex narrative. To truly appreciate the roots of the vampire myth, we must travel back to the heart of Europe, specifically the Slavic regions where whispers of the undead first began to take shape. As we traverse through time, we find ourselves amidst a tapestry of Slavic folklore where the boundaries between life and death were far less rigid than our modern understanding would allow. The figure that emerges from this rich folklore isn't the suave, tragic, romantic that graces our silver screens today, but a creature born from fear, death, and disease. These early accounts describe vampires not as creatures of the night, but as manifestations of death, as the souls of the recently departed trapped within their earthly remains. They were believed to rise, not out of a thirst for blood, but driven by a desperate need to communicate with the living, often to warn their families of impending danger. The image of the charismatic, eternally youthful vampire found in fiction is replaced by the haunting specter of a corpse animated only by malevolent intent. Furthermore, the supposed powers of vampires differed greatly from their fictional counterparts. Instead of shape-shifting or hypnotizing their victims, these malevolent entities used far more sinister methods to exert their influence. One of the most disturbing aspects of Slavic vampire lore was the belief that these beings used their victims as conduits to the spirit realm, effectively turning them into unwitting accomplices in their nefarious schemes. Moreover, the so-called signs of vampirism were rooted firmly in the physical, observable characteristics of the body. A bloated purplish face, bloodshot eyes, and a mouth filled with blood were all telltale indicators that a person had fallen victim to the undead. Additionally, behavioral changes were also noted, including an unnatural fixation on blood and animalistic growls and snarls. It wasn't just in Slavic folklore that these chilling tales found a home. Similar narratives can be found across various cultures, each offering a unique twist to the terrifying tale of the undead. For instance, in China, the Jiangshi or Hopin vampire was believed to prey on the elderly, causing their bodies to bloat and eventually leap from their graves. Meanwhile, in the Philippines, the aswang was said to disguise itself as a human, often a beautiful woman, before preying on unsuspecting victims. While these global variants add a fascinating layer to the vampire narrative, it's essential to remember the thread that ties them all together: the universal human fear of death and the unknown. No matter how diverse the manifestations, the underlying terror remains constant, the blurring of the line between life and death. As we continue our journey through the labyrinth of vampire lore, it's crucial to remember that these aren't just tales designed to scare. They serve as a window into the minds and hearts of those who lived centuries ago, a reflection of their struggles, their losses, and their fears. Now that we've peeled back some layers of these historical beliefs, we can start to see how they've morphed and evolved over the years. These figures from folklore, born from a mixture of grief and superstition, somehow managed to survive the test of time, adapting and changing as they passed through the ages. It's as though these stories, instead of fading into obscurity, found new life in each generation, taking on new meanings and resonating with the fears and fascinations of each era. Today, we tell these stories as chilling, cautionary tales, campfire ghost stories meant to send shivers down our spines, but they're also a testament to the human experience, a reminder of our shared history and our timeless struggle to comprehend the mysteries of life, death, and everything in between. So the next time you hear a vampire tale, whether it's the tragic romance of Bella and Edward, or the chilling tale of a blood-sucking fiend from Slavic folklore, remember that you're experiencing more than just a story. You're connecting to a legacy that has echoed through the ages, a legacy that continues to evolve and adapt, forever shaped by the fears and fascinations of humankind. And with that chilling thought, we come to the end of our journey into the shadows. A journey where we sought to unravel the threads of truth that weave through the fabric of vampire lore. We began with the iconic images seared into our collective consciousness, Dracula's haunting visage and the ethereal glow of Twilight's vampires. We challenged you with a simple yet profound question: what truly scares you about vampires? Through this exploration, we aim to guide you beyond the glitz and glamour, the fangs and the capes, to the raw, unfiltered origins of these mythical creatures. You've now traversed through the annals of history, witnessing firsthand how the vampire myth has evolved and adapted, mirroring our own fascination and evolving perceptions of the enduring macabre. As we reach the twilight of this journey, We leave you with another thought-provoking question. Does an understanding the true lore of a creature like the vampire enhance or diminish its terror in the fictional tales we know and love? Share your thoughts below. Before we part ways, we invite you to join our growing community of mystery enthusiasts. If you've enjoyed this journey into the heart of vampire lore, show your support by subscribing and hitting that thumbs up button. By doing so, you'll not only stay connected to our future explorations, but also help us in our mission to bring more intriguing tales to life. See you in the next video with more from Mystery Stories.